Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello there, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Attacking 2 podcast on a great day, on a very, very exciting day, because earlier today, this morning, really, the inevitable has happened, and Mr. Frank Lampard has been announced as Chelsea's new manager. Of course, I am here today, joined again with my co-host, my co-host, I'm his co-host. We are co-hosts of each other. Jimmy Funnell. Jimmy, how are you doing? As you can see, people, sorry, Jimmy, no guests today. Again, we're possibly thinking of doing it like interchanging a week with a guest, a week without a guest, kind of going back and forth with that. So it might be a little bit shorter this time. We said that last time it was just us two, and we still went for an hour. So who knows what's going to happen? But yeah, Jimmy, how are you doing? How are you feeling today? Is it a good day?
We just like to talk, eh? I'm feeling grand. I mean, what a day. Sun's out, got a new manager, got some coaching staff coming in. The only snag is, we have to say goodbye to Gianfranco Zola, but we'll be talking about that. But good day.
It is a good day, I agree. I mean, like I said, the inevitable happened. I mean, we've known for weeks, months. You could almost say maybe month is a bit of an exaggeration, but a month anyway. Like that's kind of how long we've known for. And it's taken us a while, whether it was us taking ages or whether it was Derby taking ages to sort their stuff with Cocu out, or whether it was a mix of the two. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. I mean, we delayed preseason by 2 days. Who cares? 2 days makes no difference. So we're just fine. It's no extreme delay. Like it was 2 weeks last year, but last year was with the World Cup even trickier. So it really didn't affect anything. Preseason and training will start tomorrow. Then it will fly out to Ireland for preseason training there. So it's good. It's exciting times, and
definitely,
yeah. It's when I watched his first press conference earlier today. I don't know. It just felt good. Like, I don't know. I got the feels going. I got the buzz going, even though I need to contain that buzz because it's not going to be that great the first season, I don't think. I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't think so. I don't know. I put it in a tweet earlier. Follow both of our Twitters, by the way. And also subscribe on YouTube. Almost forgot to mention it. Subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe on the iTunes. Subscribe on the Spotify. Subscribe everywhere. And leave us all the great ratings, the likes, the ratings on iTunes, everything. So please do that. But yeah, check out our Twitters. The links to it is down in the description. And the Attacking 2 podcast Twitter, because we do tweet things there. We will try to be more and more active there. Anyway, what I was trying to say is that I tweeted, it's kind of like, even like when you go away for a long while, and even though you have a great time, nothing beats coming home. And that's kind of what that press conference by Lampard felt like a little bit. Like we had a great time with Conte in his first season, but then Lampard coming home today in a press conference, that it kind of just felt like coming home. I mean, I know he's coming home, but that's the feeling it gave me a little bit. So yeah, it's good, and I hope things go well with the youth. He seemed very, very demanding of himself, which I'm not sure was the greatest move, of how he basically demands top four of himself this season. Not sure that's a great move by him, because that will make the media expect that from him. And once we don't achieve that, the media will scrutinize him, as they always do with Chelsea managers. So that's why I'm not sure it's a great move. I like his idea, and that he is so demanding of himself, that he sets such high targets, because, yes, Chelsea should be in the top four, but with the current situation, losing Hazard and the transfer ban, I don't think that should be expected of him and the team this season. But either way, it's exciting. And do you want to say anything about something that he said in the press conference? Or
just don't want to interrupt you, mate.
Sorry.
I think the coming home feeling that you're talking about, it's got something to do with us. As said, also a big fan of Sarri. Was a shame to see him go, but I think this coming home just adds to us regaining a bit of our identity. Is that identity that we established over longer period than a decade with that old guard and spine that we'd formed. I mean, Peter Cech coming back first, that was already a huge thing for people who loved that period of our history. Now we got Frank Lampard back. I mean, can it get any better? I think that's what really makes the Chelsea identity something that makes me absolutely buzzing. I'm When blue, I'm proud to do it. I go outside, no problem. It's a bit weird in Austria. No one wears football shirts on the street, but they can go and F themselves. So that is just a day to be remembered. And I think we should be very happy about it. About the press conference, I said it on Twitter. Rhetorically speaking, it was just the best press conference I've had in a long time. Not only at Chelsea generally. It's just... the guy is such a class act. So that's why I hope the media will actually stop, harassing us and talking about bullshit, more or less making up rumors the whole time like that. Did you see that that report from the Sun that Sarri's in for Hudson-Odoi now? That I thought, what? I mean, it's the Sun. We shouldn't expect anything less, but that's bullshit. I hope that Lampard going back, an English coach, is bad as that sounds, maybe they'll normalise themselves. Probably not, but at least turn it down a notch. And I think if we talk about favourite bits of that press conference, my favourite part of it was when he talked about waking up today and describing that feeling, what it meant to him to really be a Chelsea manager, and that then ties in with the video that they posted where at the end you see him sitting there in the dressing room and you see the Pride banner there with the Chelsea name, and it feels so right. I don't know if it's going to work out. We saw it with Man United with Solskjaer. Could go either way, but bloody hell, it's so exciting.
Solskjaer at United is not what Lampard is at Chelsea. That doesn't necessarily mean that he will go right, but it's not the same thing. Like everyone, of
course not. No.
Yeah, like Solskjaer is a Man United legend, but he's a different kind of legend to what Lampard is at Chelsea. Like it's not on the same kind of. He's not like a Roy Keane, right?
So Alex Ferguson, for example, for United, manager, not player, we know that, but he's still one of those all-time greats for them, where you can say him coming back, for example, would be a huge thing for them. He's so highly regarded. Frank Lampard is our best player, arguably. Some will say Peter is good, but for me, I didn't get to see Peter as good. I can only evaluate the last 20 years, 25 years. I've been able to watch football, and that's Frank Lampard for me. He's the best player we've had in that time. So him coming back, that doesn't ease the pressure off him. Probably the exact opposite, but that's our expectations. That is such a buzz that we can say he's home, and whatever comes, we'll try and support him as best we can. And when we talk about identity, let's hope that we can now unite as fan base again. I already said this often, but that's a very important topic for me. So that's all that he can do, and that I think that press conference really laid the ground foundation or the basis for that for the upcoming season.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like I said in my intro, whatever, I do hope that it's not a bit of a risky move to aim as high and keep that. We're Chelsea, we need to be here and there, which is not wrong about. But back when that kind of idea and stuff and that just expectation and standard was implemented and was created at Chelsea within the last 15 years or so, while that was being created, we had a much better team than we do right now, and other teams were not as much better as they are now, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it is a tricky thing, but if he pulls it off and we do manage to finish third, fourth, whatever, great, unbelievable.
Yeah,
don't see how that would happen. Unbelievable. If he does so, fair play. Best manager in the world then. But yeah, no, of course. Other things that we do want to mention, of course, we previously touched on it when Petr Cech was announced, and that there were the rumours about Claude Makelele joining, which still seems like a thing because Lampard even mentioned him today.
And Drogba. He mentioned both.
Drogba. Yeah. And it was interesting because the Chelsea, like the official Twitter, they did pick up on other names that he mentioned, but the Drogba and Makelele one they ignored. Because it's kind of like, that's official, but Lampard, you should not have said that yet, kind of thing.
And the journos didn't even mention that before. And correct me if I'm wrong, they didn't, right?
No, they didn't. And they didn't.
So
did pick up on it.
Oh, really? Those names? Well, where did they come from? That is good, yeah.
Yeah, and they didn't pick up on it either. The journalists, they didn't ask follow-up questions, which I thought was a bit weird. Maybe they know already, possibly the journalists, and know not to ask about it actually. And then he kind of just built it himself. Either way, what he also confirmed, rather than just those two, and obviously Petr Cech that we already know about, is some of his backroom staff anyway. Of course, we don't know the full backroom staff because most of the names we will have never heard of. But some of the names we know, and some of the names were mentioned by Frank Lampard today. Of course, as was expected and as we all knew would happen, Jody Morris did follow Chelsea from Derby County to Chelsea as obviously his assistant coach, alongside also, forgot his name again now, not Chris Evans.
Chris Jones.
Chris Jones, the fitness coach.
Fitness
coach that used to be at Chelsea already. I think was at Derby now with Lampard, was he?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Exactly.
He came in with Ancelotti. Yeah, I think we said.
Exactly. And then he left to, go to Derby with Lampard, and now he's back, which is good because, fitness seemed to be a bit more of an issue this season than it was in previous seasons. So maybe it's a good thing that guy's back. And also Joe Edwards, who is a coach was a coach in the academy. So he actually was a player as part of our academy, then, didn't end up making it, and has been a coach in the academy since 2004, which is obviously ages, like really long time. Went through various age groups from kids to older. In 16-17, in Conte's first season, actually, he was our lone player technical coach. That was his role then. And then for the last 2 seasons, he has been the coach of the development squad, the under-23 squad. And Lampard is basically, pulling him up to the first team, basically being kind of his other assistant next to Jody Morris. A bit like the kind of structure that we had with Mourinho and then Rui Faria and Steve Holland, or like with Conte and his assistant and Steve Holland in the first season. So that is the kind of the situation we're in. And Lampard mentioned it himself. They know the club. I mean, Lampard knows the club as well. But Jody Morris and Joe Edwards know the club even better than Frank Lampard does, because they've just been around for so long and they didn't have this period of Man City, of New York City FC and punditry and that kind of period. I mean, Joe Edwards was here all along and Jody Morris only had that 1 year out. But other than that, they were here the entirety of the time. Like literally pretty much every player that has ever gone through the Chelsea Academy ever since Roman Abramovich put money into it, they know. Whether they've made it, whether they didn't make it, whether they made it elsewhere than at Chelsea, they know all of these players. So you literally can't tell them anything about the academy. So our wishes of the younger players getting more of a chance now, there's nothing better for them than Jody Morris and Joe Edwards being, in charge alongside Frank Lampard.
Lawrence, I think one can also add to that because he mentioned another name, that's Eddie Newton. And Eddie Newton, another advantage for Chelsea now, he was in charge, or one of the guys in charge of the loanees, so the loan army, looking what's happening with them, how they're doing, etc. So we've not only got as you mentioned, the absolute experts on the academy with us now and the coaching staff. We've also got the expert on the loan players. So, I mean, if there's ever going to be a chance for them to break into that first team, it's this year. I mean, undoubtedly.
I completely agree, and that's why there's two complete standpoints to look at this. It's for Lampard, it's at the same time too early and the perfect time, in my opinion. Yeah. So kind of, it would have been perfect if the transfer ban came in 2 years' time. Then it would have been exact perfect, like in my opinion anyway. Whatever he would have done with Derby in the next 2 years, whether he would have gotten them promoted or not, who knows. But I think he could have done with another year or two experience in professional management. I think he could have done with that. But him starting during this transfer ban period is not a bad thing in the slightest, because, and I'm sure we've mentioned this before, like I said previously, I say a lot of things at various channels, like, my channel and other places and Twitter and the podcast. So I never remember where I say what. But, I hope that the board understand that the expectations should be lowered compared to what our expectations usually are. And that can only be a good thing for Lampard. And with the transfer ban, he is forced to use the young players. I mean, he probably would have done either way, I think. But now that with the transfer ban and him using them, I think the board will be a bit more accepting of possibly slightly worse results, whether it's only finishing 6th or whether it's even finishing 7th or 8th or whatever. I think they would be a lot more accepting of that than if, say, we didn't have a transfer ban and even kept Hazard, or at least if we had a transfer ban and kept Hazard, or if we had lost Hazard but could have replaced him with someone big. I think they would be slightly less accepting of bad results then. So I think it's actually a good situation in that way. And like you said, the young players, of course, we also saw footage today of Ruben Loftus-Cheek taking his first steps without his brace and without crutches as well, which was really good to see. And also doing a bit of no bench pressing, of leg pressing, only 5 kilograms, and he looked really
Yeah,
strong.
he did struggle. Yeah, that was really, really weird sight if you think about.
You could also see how much smaller his left thigh was to compare to his right thigh, because he couldn't train his left leg for the last what is it, 1.5, 2 months now almost.
It was mid-May, so
1.5 months, I guess, almost 2 months then. You did see that. So it will take him a good while still to come back. Hopefully before 2020. I still think before 2020, even though a lot of reports are saying, it might be after 2020. I think he'll probably be back late November, early December time. But we'll have to wait and see.
Brilliant. Laurenz, I got it, because we're trying to keep this a bit casual. We don't have to have like this absolute linear structure.
Yeah,
I got to ask you, because we haven't talked about this yet. Reports of Danny Drinkwater maybe getting a lifeline at Chelsea, because I'm going to say this, and I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with me here.
So you tweeted about it. I was like, what?
But I know he's been. Well, I don't want to say parasite, because he was given a contract worth 150 grand a week on Chelsea, not Drinkwater. Why he didn't leave, we don't know exactly. We can't say if he just didn't want to leave or if the club just couldn't find anyone to pay his wages. We don't know,
That's basically the same thing, though. Because if he was willing to lower his wages, he would have found a club. So that's why he didn't want to leave.
Well, any sane person with a working contract, why would he do that? None. No person. It's it's very hypocritical of people to say, well, yeah, but he wants to play. Come on, he's got a family. He wants to have this luxurious lifestyle like any other player. But
no, I agree. But then I don't buy the thing when players say, you want to play. You're frustrated when you're on the bench. I'm like, well, which is it then? That's where it comes from. But I get you.
Coming back to the actual footballing term, he was great for Leicester City. I think people underestimate how large a part he played that contributed to Leicester City winning that title. 4 years now, isn't it? It's going to be 4 years, yeah. 3 to 4 years. Anyway, but he played well there, and I'm not saying he's going to be a starting player, Chelsea quality, but I think he can do bits, until Loftus-Cheek is back. Then we could loan him out and sell him next summer, depending on whether Frank Lampard sees something in Timo Bakayoko. I'm not going to even mention Marco van Ginkel, because the guy's currently always injured and always setbacks. I feel sorry for him, but I could imagine him retiring at some point soon. So what do you think about Drinkwater? Because I think it's at least worth a shot. Whoever is crap, sort them out. But if he's good in training, why not? He's a homegrown player as well.
Yeah, well, if he is good, but I don't think he is or will be. It's easy to say the caveat of like, if they are good. Well, but yeah, you could have that argument for, I don't know, Bakayoko, and you could even have it for Charlie Morris himself. If he's still good, how about you just, register him as a player? Like, I'm
all down with Frank Lampard play, mate. All down. Player manager.
But you get the point. Like, why? Like, yeah, it was really good at Leicester City. First of all, it was a completely different style of football to what we're hopefully going to play. So he wouldn't have been good even at that point in the Man City team either. Like, let's be honest. He fit perfectly into that Leicester team. And also, it was the 15-16 season. We're now going into the 19-20 season. And since then, for almost 2 years, he's barely played. Like, it's not even just one season. He didn't play much under Conte either. So he played 5 games? 10 games? Something like that.
I think it was about 10, yeah.
Yeah, and how many of them was the start? 2, 3? Not more than that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so... even if he was very good at Leicester, like if someone doesn't play for 2 years and that without injury, they're kind of like, well, what is the point? I understand the whole wages situation, but I would rather see Trevor Chalobah given a chance than Danny Drinkwater. Like, do you know what I mean?
You need a mix of experience as well, Matt. You need experience and youth. You can't just have all youth, and we can't. Beggars can't be choosers.
Like, it's not like he would be, an important player. We still have the experience in someone like Kante, in someone like Jorginho, and someone like Kovacic, and he's 25, but he's experienced a lot. You have Azpilicueta, you have David Luiz, you have Giroud, you have the experienced players. Like, I don't think you need a Drinkwater here who's experienced one season of what it's like to what we actually need. and that is Leicester. Like,
Well, he was really good before that, partially. But what I mean is, this is a year of firsts. This is a situation we haven't been in before. We can't just get in another person or another player. You know, we'll get rid of him eventually. But I'm just saying we should be open-minded, not just say, yeah, Drinkwater has to go immediately. Wait and see. You know what Lampard says. He says everyone starts at 0. We'll see. You know, if he's not as good as Bakayoko or I don't know, Trevor Chalobah, Mason Mount. Well, I think Mason Mount's going to stay with us anyway, but you get my point. Then brilliant. You know, if not, bye. But I think what I'm trying to say is I think it's unfair to already say because he hasn't played or he wasn't that good or I don't know, whatever. Yeah, he shouldn't stay here. We shouldn't be selling players really at this moment. I'm even going to say this about Alonso because we should evaluate who's good enough and just keep them on the bench because we can't be really picky here. There's an injury in midfield again. Let's say, for example, because you named that Kante's injured or Jorginho's injured. Suddenly things look pretty bleak. You know, we haven't really got people to replace them. If injury in August or September, look what happened at the end of the tail end of last season. We just lost, what was it, 3 or 4 players, key players, even though they were young. That hurt. You know, we still ended the season on the high, but if that happens at the start of Lampard's season, not nice.
yeah. But still, we bought the guy for 35 million and he's 150 grand. That's why you need to sell him, you know, to like open up funds for another time because,
Sure.
you know, there's no point in like if you add that up over 52 weeks and I don't know whether footballers get 54, you know, salaries a year. I don't know how it works for them. But like if you add that up of how much money 150 grand a week is, it's just a complete waste of money. In all honesty, like you can't compare it to Alonso either. Like I don't like Alonso, but Alonso is a genius compared to Danny Drinkwater. Like Alonso has done good things for this club. Danny Drinkwater scored 1 goal against Stoke, and that's it. And we won that game 5 anyway.
I fully understand that, Laurenz. I know, and I'm not saying that they're on the level in that regard. I'm just saying we should be open-minded. I'm not even advocating he has to stay, he has to be there, he has to play. I'm saying, why not consider him as a squad player if we need him? That's all, you know.
For me, it's not down to us anyway. I mean, I do hope that,
of course,
I do hope that I just put enough, that I can put enough trust in Lampard that if he wants Drinkwater to stay, that is a good decision, and if he doesn't want him to stay, that is also a good decision. So whatever he decides, I hope is the right decision. And I do believe that he will decide to, if we can get rid of him, let's get rid of him because we just don't need him. Because if you think about it, you mentioned the injury thing. Well, we have quite a few players in midfield, like especially with Mason Mount and Bakayoko coming back. Like we don't know for sure whether Bakayoko will stay around, but we do have plenty of people around. Like we have Kovacic, we have Barkley, we have Jorginho, and we have Kante. Those are 4 completely fit players from the start of the season. You know, let's not even mention Ruben Loftus-Cheek for now because he will be out for a few months of the season first. So those are the 4. And then you have Mason Mount, who I think will play a fairly big role, at least in cup games and as a squad player to come off the bench quite regularly. And then you also have Timmy Bakayoko, who I rate quite significantly higher than Drinkwater, in my opinion.
Oh, I do as well. Don't get me wrong.
But that's 6 midfielders for 3 positions, and that's not even including Ruben Loftus-Cheek. You don't need Drinkwater. Like you don't need 7 players for 3 positions.
That depends whether he really sees Mason Mount fit to stay or if he gets loaned out. We don't know. It depends on whether Ruben Loftus-Cheek may really take until January. Bloody hell, I hope not. But you know, if that is the case, depends on whether he likes Bakayoko more or Bakayoko or Drinkwater, really. You know, and as said, 1 injury and things look bleak. If we're playing with a 3 midfield, we're only playing with 2.
We can't really play with 2.
Well, I don't think we're going to play with 2. You can't really. You're right. Even if he's a bit further forward and it's not that kind of a Sarri formation, still it will be a problem. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if he doesn't decide on Mount to stay, but that would be very surprising to me. We don't know for sure. And then you also have Ethan Ampadu. If we play with the double pivot, if we play in a 4-2-3-1, he could certainly play in that position. I'd rather him than Drinkwater.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
But yeah, to be fair, let's just wait what Lampard does. I think we've spent already way too much time talking about Danny Drinkwater compared to what he
Well, it
deserves.
wasn't just Drinkwater. It was about other, the
I
midfield.
know.
And all. But I know. So I would actually like to have a poll where we decide who you have more of an agenda against, like Olivier Giroud or Danny Drinkwater. It'd be very intriguing to know, but no, you're right. We should move on because I think Ethan Ampadu would be a topic for itself. I think we could talk 30 minutes just about Ethan Ampadu, but I haven't got the time for that. But anyway, I think one really big point that has to be made, and that's something I feel sorry for him. Gianfranco Zola leaving. It's just such a shame how it ended.
I put it out on Twitter earlier. Obviously, he has left the club now with Maurizio Sarri as he was part of his backroom staff. And I put it out on Twitter earlier that it's disappointing news in my opinion. Like I would have loved for him to stay on as part of the backroom staff. I don't necessarily think he should have been an assistant coach. I wouldn't have wanted him instead of Jody Morris or Joe Edwards or something. But I would have wanted him to be part of the backroom staff. Now, someone put a very fair response to that to me on Twitter. Said maybe Gianfranco Zola just doesn't want to do that. Maybe that's the reason he isn't here anymore.
Possibly.
Maybe Lampard didn't want him as an assistant, but he didn't want to be less than that. And maybe then he said, well, then I'm going to leave and possibly be a manager myself again. I mean, it's not like he's only done it for one season. Like, while only semi-successful, he's done plenty of seasons as a manager. I said plenty, but
semi-successful is, I think you're, sugarcoating it a bit there. He was being terrible up until now. Huh?
You got Watford promoted, right?
Oh, no, he didn't. They lost in the
but he was
final.
manager with that ridiculous player.
Sure, but that's that's not
of course
because his time at West Ham was terrible. At Cagliari, it was terrible, and Birmingham City, Jesus, that was a catastrophe. So, I think one has to be careful if he goes to Saudi Arabia or something, maybe. But otherwise,
the only people that really have a lot of good things to say about him are the Watford people. Like Troy Deeney says he was a great manager. So that is interesting. So, but that is a fair point. Like I'm not saying that it's necessarily the case, but because I can't remember his tag or whatever. But the guy replied it to me on Twitter, and I was like, yeah, that is a fair point. We don't know whether Zola just didn't want to have a lesser role, and that is fair enough if that is the case. But that doesn't change that you and I, as a fan, would have wanted him to stay on in a different role, and it's just disappointing because who doesn't love Gianfranco Zola?
Yeah, I mean, we offered him an ambassador role, which maybe he'll continue, but I apparently didn't want it. So I don't know. That could be an incentive for him. Okay, I'm not going to really have this coaching role anymore here. I'll move on, possibly.
Yeah. That is quite possible. I mean, one thing that doesn't really suit the conversation, and it kind of, some people could tell me, the fuck you on about, Loz, now? I mean, chill. Lampard literally got appointed today. But something that I've always thought about since the first day these Lampard rumours came up, is it's kind of a bit of an issue that Lampard and Terry are so, I mean, okay, Terry is still only an assistant, but they're kind of so similar in their development. And I don't know, because Terry spoke about being a manager way sooner than Lampard did. So I always envisioned Terry being the manager rather than Lampard. So do you think that Terry could be the guy after Lampard, whenever that may be, whether it's in 2 years, whether it's in 5 years, whenever it may be? Do you think Terry could be the guy to take over from Lampard? Or do you think once we've tried this experiment, we're just going to go back to big name?
I don't know if we're going to go immediately back to big name, as long as you've got something on the CV, but I don't think so. I mean, we've talked about this before. There have been those rumours where when it's been said the board isn't too fond of John Terry because he's such a dominant personality. Well, back then it was in the dressing room, but it would be on the coaching bench here. It'd be the same problem. So I don't know. It's difficult to say whether that would play a decisive role, but
that's probably exactly what the club would need.
Probably, yeah, but that's why they don't want him. I mean, Maurizio Sarri was a soft guy in that respect. After Conte, I think they just had enough. And
I think Conte is a bit of a little kitten compared to John Terry as well. If Terry, because at Chelsea anyway, like not in general,
at Chelsea,
Chelsea terms,
because
especially.
I don't think John Terry's ever thrown a water bottle at anyone, and he did that at Pirlo, if I'm not mistaken. So Conte at Pirlo. So He's got balls, but John Terry, I don't know. I don't know why. If you ask me why, I can't tell you, but I can't actually see John Terry being a good coach at Chelsea as a manager, as a first team coach. Frank Lampard's got the intelligibility. He's rhetorically sound. He just has an overall knowledge where you say, this guy, I mean, he's highly intelligent. You know, I think he's got an IQ of 170 or something like that. And I think that is something that you really need in football. I don't want to further that, overgeneralizing argument. Yeah, all footballers are stupid, because that's not true. But, I mean, Juan Mata, Frank Lampard are the exact opposite of that. But I think you have to be born to be a coach. Frank Lampard has the not the credentials yet, but he has the basis to be that. Exactly that. I don't know about John Terry. We don't actually know how much he contributes at Villa. What we have heard is that he hasn't sometimes gotten along with the first team coach. He's a tricky personality.
Yeah, but that's why he should be the first team coach. Like, it always surprised me that he took on an assistant role. I'm like, that is never going to work. That always.
He was already during the Champions League final. Can you remember him shouting from the gaffer's box?
Yeah.
Can you remember?
Yeah, but that's what I mean, though, in a sense, because you say they're born for it. I mean, he started taking notes of what Mourinho did in training. However old he was, 24 or whatever, when Mourinho took over. Like, to at 24 already, have the long-term thinking of, right, actually, what he's doing is quite good here. So, and I want to be a manager. So I'm going to bring my notebook every day in training, and I'm going to write down everything we do, which is done for the entirety of his career. So I don't think you can say John Terry wasn't born to be a manager, because he's seemingly, because
I didn't say he wasn't born. I just say that I don't think he'd be good here. But I didn't say he wasn't born to be a manager, or did I? Because if so, then sorry, that's what I meant.
You said Terry isn't. I don't know. Like, Lampard is more so than Terry. Whatever. But I'm just saying, Lampard has never said something like that. And to me, when you've worked under so many managers, like John Terry has, of course, Frank Lampard has worked under the pretty much exact same number of managers. But still, when you've worked under so many managers, and I mean, I'm not saying Frank Lampard was less of a leader. Well, he was less of a leader, but if you watched Chelsea in that,
different leader.
Yeah, in different leader, but also John Terry was very commanding to his players, not just in defensive shape. Generally, he was very demanding. He was like, if you ever watched him like more individually, he was telling everyone when to press, when to drop back, when to move out, when to come central. He was telling everybody what to do anyway. So that's exactly what a manager does. What I'm not sure about is what kind of style of manager he would be, because he's an assistant at Villa, and we don't know, because Villa don't exactly play the football that I would personally like to see. He's a bit more of a Jose style. Bad terms, I guess.
Diego Simeone comes to mind. He's kind of the way he is, like that.
That deep, but
no, but just his personality. It seems like the guy that would go like this, like Diego Simeone.
Yeah, that sounds incredible. I'd love that. I find that great. I love Simeone, not as his tactics necessarily, but as a personality. I love Simeone. He's a great manager. But what I meant is tactics-wise. We don't know what exactly John Terry actually wants to do tactically, because he's not the first team coach. And like you said earlier, we don't know how much of an influence he does have. He always seems like when he stood there like, he looks a lot more imposing than, I forgot the name of the first team manager. And it always looks like he has a lot more to say than the first team manager.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know how much he has to say, and whether he has to say a lot on a personal level, but less so tactics. And that is just how it works. The manager, that's his job. So I would like to see John Terry, while Frank Lampard is our manager, would like to see him be a first team manager somewhere. So then we can see what he can do. Anyway, it's just something that I thought, because John Terry was always way more of a hero to me than Frank Lampard. Not that I have anything against Frank Lampard or anything. Just, I don't know. John Terry always appealed to me a little bit more, which, with all the off-pitch issues, I know some people question it. But yeah, that's just always what it's been like for me. And then Terry didn't leave and play for Man City, rather than that refused to play for anyone against us. Not that is necessarily say, you're not good enough, Frank Lampard. No, but still, Terry refused that. And that in my heart and head is always something that I don't know, value Terry for. Not something that I disvalue Lampard for, but rather that I give extra credit to Terry for. And I don't know. I mean, he's the guy that I have to shout off, on the wall of, not Lampard. That's just always what it's been like for me. So I do hope he comes as a manager one day and he's good at it. Whether I'm right at that or not. But yeah, like I said, it's just something that's gone through my mind a lot because I'm like, I don't know who I prefer as a manager because, like I said, I prefer Terry as a player, as a guy or whatever. But I have a feeling like you that Lampard might be a better manager, which is a bit sad for me. But yeah, so it's just something that I brought up. But yeah, is there anything else you want to discuss? Or
well, just to finish that off, because you say he's like full Chelsea hasn't changed. I think even Frank Lampard acknowledges that in a way because I think they're on par. I'll be honest, but even Frank Lampard, I think, echoes your sentiment because today he said, well, it's different for John Terry, Mr. Chelsea. I think they know as well, this guy embodies Chelsea, the Chelsea DNA, 100%. While Lampard, maybe it's 98%. But, I don't give a shit about that. I think he's going to be a brilliant manager.
There's nothing wrong. Of course, he also came from the West Ham Academy, but that's not something Lampard can be faulted for. So I will never I don't hold the City thing against him either. I just, like I say, I hold it pro Terry rather than counter Lampard, if that makes sense. Because I don't know, it just hurt me when he played for City and when he scored. It just hurt me. And when I hear Terry then a few years later say he refused any sort of Premier League club approach because he refuses to play against Chelsea, I don't know. It just makes me a lot happier than seeing Lampard play for Man City. So,
all right, yeah, I get that. But yeah, okay, no, I understand that. But as I think we're going to aim to do it a bit short. There's not much more to talk about today, but there is one last thing, and I'd like to hear your opinion on that. Ian Robben has announced his retirement from football. He didn't play that long for Chelsea. I think, was it 3 years approximately? Not quite. But for me, we've never actually replaced him on that right wing. He was just that good. Someone who continually does the same thing, but always gets away with it and has world-class results to show for it. That guy is a world-class player, if you ask me. He's not Messi or Ronaldo, but, the guy was phenomenal in his prime, and he did so well what could have been if he would have stayed, but that's just the way it is. But, yeah, what are your thoughts on him retiring?
I was a little bit surprised by it, to be honest, because obviously we all knew that he left Bayern Munich. But I mean, he explained it saying, he thought about it long and hard and stuff, but I didn't expect him to leave Bayern and, make that a big official thing. And then a few weeks later, or a couple of months later, decide, actually, I'm also going to retire. I didn't see that coming. I don't know whether I thought he would go to the MLS or whether he would go to, was he at Eindhoven? Where did he start off at Eindhoven?
Eindhoven, yeah.
Or whether he would go back to there because, I mean, like RVP went back to Feyenoord or something. Dutch players.
I think they tried, Laurenz. I think they tried because the manager, who's the manager of PSV? I'm not sure. Whoever it is, they actually said they tried to get him. So that
he wanted too much money or what?
Probably, yeah.
Probably. I never understand it because I'm like, how is retiring financially more like a better thing than playing for less money? I don't understand. I mean, I know you're going to make a lot of money being a pundit, but you're not going to make as much as playing, surely.
No, I agree. Yeah, good point.
That is always a bit strange, but fair play. He had a great career. Obviously, I didn't see much of Chelsea because back then you couldn't really watch many Chelsea games if you lived in Austria. Quite frankly, wasn't really a thing. Like the odd Champions League game, and that was only one of the games on Wednesday, and then you had to be lucky. So
I'm eternally thankful for that we had a Sky here at the time. No, so not the Sky that you have everywhere nowadays, but it was still the Sky from. I'm probably not allowed to say that. Well, it doesn't matter. We haven't got it anymore. So, but there were ways. And
my family never had that. And obviously, I was young anyway.
That's the advantage of having English or being British because you just have them family then. But whatever. Sorry.
I completely agree. And so that was that. So I obviously know him a lot more from his Bayern Munich days. Even about Real Madrid, I didn't see him that much. I mean, I've watched a game of him at Chelsea, not that many, and a great player. I was like, geez, he's quick. I remember thinking that when I was like, well, geez, he's quick. Got a good left foot. Always thought he doesn't have a right foot. Still doesn't to this day. But bit like Gareth Bale, kind of. But yeah, great career, achieved a lot. Obviously, kind of bottled it in the 2010 World Cup final against Spain with that 1v1 that he had that he could probably bottle. Well, I'm happy because I wanted Spain to win that. But for him, obviously, it must be agonising. And of course, that Champions League 2012 always blew it hard, bottled a penalty. That was great, loved it. I mean, if he fancies to change his mind and come to my local team and play for free, please, because we need players. So
call this number.
Yeah, please call us. We'll call you as well. Give me your number. But yeah, it's a great career. He's had a lot of, he's played a lot of big clubs: Chelsea, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich for a long time. Won everything. Won the Champions League. Scored also the winner the year after. Of course, he bottled it against us. He scored the winner against Dortmund. So
it's true. Yeah.
Great career, and wish him all the best in his retirement.
Definitely, yeah. I can only echo that. I mean, whatever. Some people might have some adversities towards him after his Bayern Munich days, because we did have kind of an international battle going on with Bayern Munich over a few years when we faced them now and again. But
a bit like with Barcelona, I guess, just a bit less.
Well, Barcelona, we met them every bloody year. I mean, I think Bayern it was 3 times, right? Something like that. I mean, there was already the ones under Jose where Lampard scored that brilliant goal. So, yeah, we did face them a few times as well, but it was never like with Barcelona. But anyway, point being, still a brilliant Chelsea player and someone that one would definitely wish everything well for his retirement. He's just thoroughly earned it. And, yeah, I think we can leave it at that for today. As we said, we tried to do a shorter episode. Next week, we will try and make it a bit longer again. Probably be much more to talk about when pre-season finally starts. Yes,
that's true.
Yeah, and
one thing that I do want to quickly mention is because I did say that at the start. If you are still listening and watching, like I say at the start, please follow us on our on the channel's Twitter. I guess the Attacking 2 Twitter. The links to everything is down in the description. Because what we might do is when me and Jimmy do like an episode, just him and I, maybe we'll do like a couple of questions that you guys send us in on Twitter that we could answer at the end of the show or at the start of the show, whatever. So, if you want to get involved in that, you have to follow us there. You see the tweet when we ask you for any sort of questions. So, follow us there. Follow myself. Follow my YouTube. Follow Jimmy. Follow us all. Subscribe on YouTube. Sorry, I'm taking over your outro. Do your outro, Jimmy. I'm sorry.
No, I'm done. Yeah, so what he said.
What I said.
What he said. And I think we're done here for today. I mean, brilliant day. Enjoy your days, Chelsea fans. And up the Chelsea and keep the blue flag flying high.